Hello everyone, I'm Kevin, otherwise known as Forum BX257, your friendly neighborhood 1980s and 90s G.I. Joe toy reviewer. But before I get to my review, I'd like to inform everyone that Timmer, over on his Half the Battle channel, is running his annual children's charity contest. Now, if you want to participate, you need to do so soon because it's running from November 1st to November 30th. To participate, you need to donate to a charity organization of your choice, the only rule being that it be a charity that benefits children. Proof can be a screenshot of your donation receipt or photo, but it is recommended that you edit out any personal information, except the amount of course. Then send that proof to the email joechristmascharity@gmail.com. The G.I. Joe community will be hoping that the combined donations will reach or exceed $1,000 this year. Before reaching that amount, at certain milestones, Timmer will be making special thank you videos. If the amount hits $1,000 after the drive ends, Timmer will draw a donator name from a hat who will win a prize. You can learn more specifics by visiting the Half the Battle channel. Good luck and be generous. And today's review will be the G.I. Joe Attack Jeep, the 1991 Badger. The Badger makes its first comic book appearance in the Old Marvel comic run of G.I. Joe in issue number 120, and makes its first animated appearance in the second season DiC animated G.I. Joe television series in the episode titled Channel. Before I get too in-depth with the Badger's features, I'd like to address one thing which may not be terribly apparent on the video, and that is, well, the packaging calls this thing an Attack Jeep, but when you look at photographs and maybe even this video, this thing looks more like an ATV with the giant wheels and the boxy body, and it's relatively stubby. But honestly, the Badger is actually a significant size. It just doesn't look like it. So here is the Badger next to what I would consider the equivalent to this, and that is the Oz Striker. And now you can see that the Oz Striker is actually pretty tiny compared to the Badger. Speaking of ATVs, this is exactly what I would have assumed that the Badger would look more like. And, well, it kind of does. With the big wheels, and like I said, boxy body. They have the same proportions, but just not the same size. The Badger has several neat little features, but the most prominent one, of course, is the spring-loaded missile launcher on top. The missile launcher can swivel all the way around and can pivot up and down. It has a tiny bit of a ratchet, but it doesn't pivot up as significantly as I would like it to. On the side here, we have a brace of 3 missiles. You put them in here, and this rather large square on the top is your missile launching button. Very interesting, the details on that missile launcher top, because it also seemed to have a bullet belt going into here. So I guess you could, in fact, just pretend that this was a machine cannon if you didn't want to fire off the missiles. The cockpit opens up, and seats only one figure. Has some really nice detail in there, but with kind of a Knight Rider-like steering wheel here. But even though you can only fit one figure in here, we do have some foot pegs on either side of the vehicle. One there, and one on the other side. Now here's an interesting feature which is not explained on the box. It's not terribly explained very well in the instructions or blueprints either, but you can actually pivot the whole front hood open. And I call that a front hood even though, well, the engine is actually at the back here and completely exposed. Well, you open it up and you can see quite a bit more of the detail of the seating area. But then there's, well, this. When I first saw that, I thought it was like a spare wheel, but it looks more like a car tire than what you would find here. I mean, it's not even the same design. Maybe it's supposed to be some type of, I don't know, cooler or radiator or something like that. I don't really know. And then on the side, there's these strange little storage area. Now, of course, this is one of the reasons why I think it's really quite unfortunate that it's not explained exactly what's inside of the flip open front. Because I would have liked to have known exactly what you're supposed to actually put in here. To me, this looks like a small rifle or pistol rack. Here I just have an example, and you can actually stuff it in there between those tines, and it fits in really well. Not only that, but you can probably even put a small knife in there as well, like this. And that fits in really nice. There is some detail on the back axle. The back axle actually moves around, so just like the Striker, this thing actually has rear suspension, which is really cool. You would think that it would be connected up to this strange little brace bar, but that's probably more of a structural thing than anything to do with the suspension. On the back here, we have this rather long antenna. And it has a little flag on the back here. Now this flag isn't a sticker on a piece of plastic. It is literally just the sticker by itself, folded into the shape of a flag, which is really rather unfortunate. I really wish this was a plastic bit which you put the sticker onto. Because, well, to be perfectly honest, a lot of the stickers all over the Badger, and quite frankly a lot of 1991 and onwards toys had these paper stickers, which just weren't really as durable as the vinyl ones that you got the year before. And yeah, this is a really weird way of putting the numbers on there. I understand that a lot of rally cars and things like that, off-road type racing, they usually have very strangely put on stickers simply because of the odd shapes of rally cars and off-road racing vehicles, as opposed to the more streamlined, straighter racing vehicles have a lot more, surface area. So they do have to put the things on there like that. But this always struck me as being very, very sloppy looking. Now, one thing which is very surprising to me, because the cockpit is slightly asymmetrical to the body. So you would think that there's be tons of room in here, but there really isn't. Now, I bought the Badger in order to display my 1992 Duke figure because I think that they go really well together. Unfortunately, Duke Sculpt, which I'll probably review a bit more later on, you can see that his arms really don't go together very well, so his elbows kind of stick out. Meaning that he doesn't really sit particularly evenly in there. Of course, the box art actually does show the 1991 Big Ben. Of course, they are from the same year, so they really ought to be able to be more compatible. And of course, his arms go a bit more straighter down. And that's all that makes the difference in a figure looking good in the cockpit. The Badger has big, sturdy wheels. Unfortunately, they are just hard plastic and not rubbery. However, if they look very familiar to you, then that's because they were reused before. They're actually a black plastic version of the 1988 Cobra Bugs wheels, which, as you can see, are more of a gray shade than jet black. As a matter of fact, the light green on the Cobra Bug is actually a fairly good match to the Badger's light green, making me kind of wonder whether somewhere along the design phase of the Badger this might have been a Cobra vehicle or even a Dreadnought vehicle. Now, I guess I do have to address this, and that is one of the reasons why a lot of collectors really don't like the Badger is because of the color scheme. Now, granted, I mean, this thing has the proportions of like a Tonka toy, and you would expect that, you'd have a bright color on here for a construction vehicle. But as a military vehicle, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Honestly, I think that's the only drawback that this toy has. I kind of wish the colors were far more subdued. In the same year that we get the Badger, we also get the motorized Battle Wagon. Again, look at those giant tigers and Tonka toy-like proportions. However, the main body of this vehicle is a subdued dark gray. Sure, it has tons of pops of color, but I think it's more excusable when it's done as an accent color to a main body, rather than the other way around like this. Now, I get it that bright colors are very attractive to young boys, and those are the primary buyers of the things, but honestly, it would have been so much better if this thing had a subdued color and light pops of color in the forms of where we have all the dark blue accent colors. Despite that awful color choice, I've actually found a lot to like about the Badger, and quite frankly, I've learned to integrate the bright colors and that little Badger flag into my collection by making it more of a scout vehicle rather than an assault vehicle as it's meant to be. If you're looking for a Badger on the aftermarket, they're fairly cheap due to their low popularity, but they're also really easy to find, complete with all of their parts if you want them as well. However, if you are building one, you do have to look out for a few things. Obviously, the rear suspension with the wheels are fairly easy to pop out, but that's a fairly obvious thing to look out for. However, if you're missing a missile launcher, make sure that it does have the pintle on the bottom here, because this can pop out as well. Of course, it comes with 3 missiles, and the scourge of many a G.I. Joe collector, it comes with an antenna. Now, as you can see, the spot where it actually connects to the body is really not very secure looking, and does pop out fairly easily as well. However, there is one thing which I would also look out for, especially if you don't want to buy reproduction stickers, is to make sure that at least 2 of the most prominent stickers on the Badger are there. The big offset 220 number, as well as the Badger flag sticker. Those are 2 that you at least want to have with the Badger because they're the most iconic look for the vehicle. Now, I have a confession to make. Normally, I don't make reviews of toys that are incomplete or have reproduction parts in place of a complete vehicle. However, I had to do that in the case of the Badger because, well, one of my missiles in between filming vanished. I have no idea where it is. I've cleaned out my entire filming area and I've yet to find this one missile. Honestly, it feels like it slipped under the cracks of reality and is right in there with my storybook of the Berenstein Bears and underneath my VHS copy of Shazam. Now, what I have done for this review was I took a missile from the 1993 Street Fighter Crimson Cruiser, which was a remold of the entire Badger vehicle, but done in red and maroon. So I went and painted this thing blue, and I was hoping that nobody would notice it. So if anybody was keen-eyed and thought, well, that one missile looks really strange, that's the reason why I'd done this. I was just too far ahead in filming. Well, that's all the time I have right now. Please check out my Facebook page for more information and behind-the-scenes photos for these reviews. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for next time to see another 1980s G.I. Joe toy review. See you then.